Um, so I want to do the critical reading part uh, because I think this is important when examining written text. So, what is critical reading? Well, you can read through the chapter, uh, but basically, it's not accepting everything that you read. So the problem with people these days is they don't bother to check carefully the sources. They don't bother to check who's writing or even who's paying for the particular piece of writing. All of these factors play a role in the opinion or the idea that is put forward. So here we just want to briefly examine what critical reading is, not just accepting what you read, um, but it is being more questioning of what you are reading, right? Particularly, or viewing in this case. They give you the example of movies. Now, you know how some movies are kind of boring because they don't have soundtracks, or the angles are wrong, or the acting is terrible, or the special effects are bad. Like if you watch a movie about superheroes in the 50s and you watch a movie about superheroes now, it's very different. Now these days it's more difficult to distinguish reality from the movies because the special effects are so good. Whereas previously it was easy to see the wires that it had the actors suspending. Now we have green screens and so on. So there are a couple of things that you need to question yourself, right? So reading with a writer's eye. Um, I just want to tell you to read through this chapter, this section of the chapter, right? I'm not going to go through this section, but what I want to focus on quickly, because we're on a time limit. I don't want you to get too bored listening to my voice. Right. So here we go. Strategies for critical reading. Right. Now, as you can see here, um, there are 7 strategies, right? These are strategies for critical reading. There are 7. Now, number 1 is, what is the writer's purpose? Okay, so what is the writer trying to do? What is he trying to tell you, right? What are his motivations in writing this, right? For example, mm, now everything you read has a writer. Nothing you read does not have a writer. Whether you are on the internet and you are reading an ad for BMW, or you are uh, reading the checkers description of chicken breasts, or whatever it is you're reading, someone's writing, and they're writing with a specific reason in mind. So it's always good to question what the writer's purpose is. What are they trying to say, right? Next is the thesis, the main idea. So, although we may know the motivation, what's the main idea, right, of the piece of writing? So, if you have someone writing a description of let's say, a hamburger at McDonald's, uh, their motivation is to sell hamburgers, right? Lots of hamburgers. But what's the main idea? There are many items on the menu. So let's say they're writing a description of the Big Mac. So the idea behind that is they want to mm, show the main attractive features of the Big Mac, like price, 2 patties, right, fresh vegetables, etc., etc. So, what's the main idea? You have to ask yourself that. Now, oftentimes, it will be stated if it's a longer piece of writing, right? And then, what evidence does the writer have to support the thesis, right? So they will give you uh, evidence. Now, with facts and statistics, these days statistics are generally used to support so-called facts that support the writer's thesis. So you have to be careful here, but we're not going to go into that too much now. The statistics class is another class. We're focusing more on the writing here. Okay, so how does a writer organize the essay number 4? Right now, like with some movies, uh, it starts off with the main person or the hero or the main character maybe dying, and then the movie will say 3 days ago and start and tell you what happened, how the actor or main actor ended up in that situation. So there are some ways instead of the traditional beginning, middle, and end, they mix it up to make things more interesting and get the audience's attention, right? Okay, so who are the intended readers? This is very important, whether you're writing or reading. Uh, if the intended reader has a high level of technical knowledge, then the writing will be different from someone who's a beginner, right? So, for example, if you are writing, mm, let's say I'm writing a paper on linguistics, right? And I'm writing this paper for other professors. Uh, Maybe my language will be higher and I will explain less and I won't feel the need to define certain terms because it is assumed that they understand. But if I'm writing for someone who's, let's say, trained in business and has no idea about linguistics, then I'll have to explain all my terms and concepts and go into greater explanations for things that another linguist would already know, right? Okay. All right. So number 6, how successful is the writing? In its context, does the writer achieve his or her goals, right? So good writing, is the writing good? So you can look at several aspects here, whether the person got their point across, whether it's clear, sometimes even the grammar plays a role, right? And then what does this writer teach you? Okay, did you take anything from it? Is there anything you can use in the future? So what did you learn after reading that piece of writing? So these are the 7 strategies for critical reading when you are reading. You can also use it for writing. So when you are writing, you can also write with these strategies in mind for the person who is reading. These will also help you guide your writing. Okay, that's it for this week. Enjoy the writing. Don't forget the paragraph for process is almost due, right? In a few days' time, 10 days to be precise. Hope you're working on that. Okay, cheers.